All right, so hello everyone. Hello, Professor. So, we did this project on teaching, incorporated the foundation of lesson planning, including the assessment, and UDL, Bloom's taxonomy, and digital pedagogy. So, the group members are group facilitator is Sabina Zaid, creative director is Rushana, media manager is Gulnazar Rajava, lead presenter is me, Abbas John Alamjanov, and publisher is Nadra Begim. Okay, let's move on to the table of contents. So as you can see, the first thing we're going to discuss is the effective lesson planning creation. And then key components of lesson planning, essential elements of assessment, UDL, Bloom's taxonomy, and then latest trends in digital pedagogy, and then innovative tools for lesson planning. And then we are going to finish the presentation by putting it all together, designing effective lessons. So now we're going to talk about effective lesson planning creation. So innovative techniques for lesson planning can help students to engage and make learning more interactive and more dynamic. So by incorporating these techniques into lesson planning, teachers can create a more engaging and interactive lesson environment, which is going to help students to develop the love for learning. And then discover the key components of lesson planning and essential assessment elements that pair perfectly with universal design, pair with UDL, Bloom's taxonomy, digital pedagogy, and lesson plans, including assessment. So, lesson planning involves several key components that are essential for effective teaching. Like when planning lessons, teachers can use frameworks such as UDL, Bloom's taxonomy, digital pedagogy to guide the instruction assessment. So, for example, UDL is a framework that emphasizes the importance of design instruction that meets the needs of, let's say, all students, regards their background, regards their abilities, regards their learning styles. Or, let's say, Bloom's taxonomy. So it's also a framework that organize learning objectives. So organize learning objectives into, like, let's say, different levels of complexity, and it encourages thinking skills. Or let's say digital pedagogy, so which refers to the use of tools and technology to improve teaching and learning. So moving on, key components of lesson planning. So the first key component is identifying learning goals. So it's the first and the most important step in lesson planning. Learning goals are the intended outcomes of lesson, or let's say unit. So they should be based on students' needs, of course, their interests, and even their objectives. So when identifying learning goals, teachers should consider things like what are the essential skills and knowledge that students should gain from this unit? Or how will this lesson connect to previous and future learning of student? Or what are the learning needs and ability of students in the class? Or what are the standards or curriculum requirements that this class should meet? So when teachers have identified these learning goals, they can create a clear plan. The clear plan that outlines the instructional activities like assessment methods and resources that will be used to achieve those goals. So having a clear set of such kind of learning goals helps teachers stay focused on the intended results of their lesson, and in turn, it enables them to assess student progress more effectively. So, using multimedia resources. So, integrating multimedia resources into lesson planning can make the lessons more engaging, more interactive, and more, let's say, impactful. Multimedia resources can include like videos, podcasts, images, interactive activities, or even digital tools. So, by using this kind of multimedia resources, teachers can create more immersive, more dynamic learning experience that is more appealing to students, or they can illustrate complex concepts, ideas, into a more engaging way. Or teachers can provide students more opportunities for the exploration, for the experiment and collaboration. So, key components of lesson planning. Incorporating active learning methods into lesson planning can of course increase students' engagement, students' enthusiasm for learning. Active learning like uh, it can refer to any approach that might involve student in the learning process, like discussion, like group work, like hands-on activities, like practical activities or problem-solving tasks. So active learning methods can help students develop their critical skills or analytical thinking or critical thinking, communication, and collaboration skills. So let me give some examples for active learning methods like peer teaching, where students teach each other about a topic or about some kind of concept, or inquiry-based learning. Students try to explore a topic or a question through a mini research or mini experimentation, or case-based learning, like students analyze and solve real-world problems or scenarios. And second is next is assessment, like including assessment plans. So assessment is a crucial component of lesson planning. So because it allows teachers to evaluate students' process. So assessment plans should be aligned with learning objectives of the lesson. So it can include like both formative and summative assessments. So what's formative assessment? Formative assessment, it provides ongoing feedback on students' learning, and it can include activities like quizzes, exit tickets, and class discussions. What is summative assessment? So it is the assessment where it can evaluate students' learning at the end of the class, at the end of the lesson, and it can include activities like tests, projects, and essays. And now let's talk about essential elements of assessment. The first is realistic learning outcomes. So these outcomes should be specific, measurable, possible, relevant, and time bound. So teachers can get the help and students can get the help to measure their progress. When creating learning outcomes, it's important to consider things like specificity, measurability, or attainability. So, what is specificity? Specificity. The outcome should clearly define what students will know and understand, and they can do after completing the lesson. So, this is specificity. Specificity. Measurability, it is the outcome, so it's the process where outcomes should be measurable, so teachers can assess where students have achieved the targeted goal or not. And the last one is attainability, so the outcome should be attainable, achievable within the given time frame, within the given resources. All right. Next element is feedback loops and reflection periods. So these are crucial elements of assessment, of course, which can help students monitor their own learning and adjust their approach as needed. So feedback should be provided in a timely or constructive manner, and they should be aligned with the learning objectives of lesson. So let me give some examples like written comments on the assessments or on the assignments which students have done, or verbal feedback during the class discussions or during the class activities, or self-assessment or reflection exercises. All right. Next, various assessment forms. Using various assessment forms is very essential to track and diagnose learning progression. Like formative assessments are used to provide ongoing feedback, like summative assessments are used to evaluate students' learning at the end of the lesson. So this both formative and summative assessments can take like many forms, like quizzes and tests, of course, essays and research papers, or even oral presentations. And the last one is collaboration opportunities. So, of course, these are the important elements of assessment because they promote an environment of shared knowledge and support. Collaborative assessment opportunities can include like peer reviews or small group work task or classroom participation. So these opportunities can help students to build their communication among students, to build these teamwork skills and leadership skills, which can also provide a more diverse range of concepts, perspectives, and feedbacks. So, plus collaboration opportunities can help students take the control of their learning and support the developing mindset. And next is Universal Design for Learning, UDL. So we come up with these three stages here. The first is providing multiple means of engagement. Multiple means of engagement involve like providing options for students to engage with the content and even make connection to their own interests and experiences. So by doing this, students are more likely to get motivated, excited, and even interested in the learning process. So let me give some examples for providing multiple means of engagement. For example, offering choices for assignments or projects that allow students to follow their own interests, or incorporating multiple multimedia resources like videos or even interactive simulations in order to engage learners with different learning preferences. And next stage is multiple means of representation. So it involves providing options for students to access the information in different ways, in various ways, at a different level of difficulty. This can include using various formats like text formats, image, or even video, and providing different levels of support. For example, using visual aids like diagrams or infographics. So this can help learners process the complex information, or providing captions or transcripts for videos and audio recordings to support learners with different language skills. And the next stage is multiple means of action expression. So it involves providing options for students to demonstrate their learning in different ways and using different tools and even methods. So this can in turn include using different modes of communication like writing, speaking, or even creating this visual representation or presentation, or offering different ways of demonstration. Okay, Bloom's taxonomy, a framework for learning. So, at the remembering level, students are expected to recall and retrieve factual information such as dates or events or formulas or definitions. So, this level involves the lowest level of cognitive processing, and this level can be achieved through simple memorization techniques like reciting a poem from memory, or identifying key terms and definitions in a textbook, or recalling historical events or dates. And the next level is at the understanding level, students are expected to grasp the meaning of information by constructing mental models and resolving unfamiliar or confusing ideas. So this level involves a deeper level of cognitive processing, unlike recalling level. And it requires students to make connection between different places of information. So at the applying level, students are expected to use and apply knowledge with accuracy and independence in real world problem solving situations. So this level involves taking knowledge and applying it in a practical way to solve the problem or complete the tasks. So, for example, using the mathematical formulas or to solve real world problems, applying scientific principles to conduct the experiment, and so on. And the next, last level is analyzing level. Students are expected to identify and infer connections between information and ideas and evaluate sources, strengths, and weaknesses. So this level involves breaking down information into parts and examining the relationships between those parts. For example, comparing and contrast contrasting the different texts or ideas, or evaluating the credibility of source of information. So when we talk about the latest trends in digital pedagogy, as you can see, there are three. The first is gamification, and then personalized learning, and the last one is social learning. So gamification is the use of game-like mechanics or statistics and dynamic to learning activities to improve motivation and engagement. So the idea is to make learning more fun, more engaging by using the techniques like leaderboards or bats or rewards. For example, like for gamification in education, like using the education games, like to teach the concept or skills, like incorporating game-like elements into traditional activities like quizzes or assignments. So creating immersive learning experience like virtual simulations or role-playing activities. So this next trend is tailored learning or personalized learning. So it's the adaptation of learning experiences to individual learners' interests, goals, and preferences. So, of course, using the technology. This approach involves using data or analytics to tailor the learning experiences to meet the specific needs of the sub kind of learner. Let me give some examples for personalized learning in the education, like using the adaptive learning software that adjusts to students' learning pace and level, or offering different pathways or choices for students to explore based on their interests and goals. All right, and the last trend is social learning. So social learning involves supporting collaborative, peer-led, or social learning through online communities, social media, or other digital tools. So the idea to create a more social and interactive learning environment, which can encourage students to work together and share their knowledge, their ideas. For example, for social learning and education, we can talk about the creation of online communities where students can collaborate and share resources, or using social media platforms to facilitate debates or discussions, or incorporating group projects or activities that encourage students to work together. And I'm going to finish the presentation by talking about this innovative tools for lesson planning. So the first is Mentimeter. Mentimeter is interactive platform where the presentations are very engaging. They use polls and quizzes in order to keep the learners engaged and motivated. And the next one is Padlet. So we often use Padlet in our classes, so we can collaborate easily and smoothly with our group mates or even colleagues, and we can customize the boards or the other options, sharing options. And the next one is Google Forms, which is very popular. We can create this assessment sheets to assess students' learning progress. And the last one is PictoChart. PictoChart is it can create these infographics, the information can be conveyed in an easy to understand format. And in this slide, you can see the references we, as a group, use it in order to finish this group project.